Well folks, there is a new Running Man in town, and it seems like fans of the original 1987 film are not that excited about it. But why is that? You know, I mean, this definitely seems like the kind of movie that you do remake. And I think where the problem lies for many fans of the original adaptation is that this one looks different.
That's the spirit. This is America, goddammit!
See, when Stephen King's The Running Man was originally adapted in 1987, the technology and the way it goes down in the book would simply have been too impossible to translate to screen. So in the process of creating this movie, they had to literally adapt it from book to film, which means they had to make what was in the book fit a movie. And that required some changes. This new one does seem to be a little bit more faithful to the book, but what I can't help but wonder is that maybe a detriment? I guess what I'm trying to say is we're gonna revisit 1987's The Running Man and figure out why it still kicks so much ass, and why it might be even better than a more faithful adaptation. So let's pass it over to Chris Bumbray and get into it.
It's time to start running!
1987's The Running Man is definitely a cult hit among Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies, but it tends to get overlooked among some of the other classics he made. After all, it came out the same year as Predator, and let's face facts, it is no Predator.
You son of a bitch!
Perhaps that's why Schwarzenegger himself once said it was the perfect movie of his to be remade. Everyone involved with the new version, especially Edgar Wright, would probably say it's less of a remake and more of a fresh adaptation of Stephen King's novel, which, of course, he wrote under the pseudonym Richard Bachman.
Welcome to The Running Man!
Based on the trailer alone, it does seem to be a somewhat more faithful adaptation, retaining an element that was ditched from the Schwarzenegger movie. Ben Richards is more impoverished, blacklisted from his profession, and trying to raise money to treat his ill daughter. The movie also keeps the fact that he has to periodically record messages and can travel anywhere in the world.
Stop filming me!
That said, for some reason I just can't see this movie ending with Richard's family being murdered and him becoming a suicide bomber. Just an inkling. So, why did the 1987 movie make so many changes? There are a few reasons. For one thing, back in 1987, they just did not have the money to make this a globe-trotting thriller.
That's alright. Keep it down!
Actually, it wasn't even a particularly expensive movie for the era, costing $27 million, which actually was significantly more than Predator, but not as much as huge, big-budget tentpole movies of the era.
Here is Sub-Zero! Now, Plane Zero!
Let's not forget that Schwarzenegger, while definitely a star in 1987, wasn't the behemoth he'd later become. Twins was arguably his first mega hit, and that was the next year.
I don't know any Klein brothers. I'm your brother, Julius. Huh?
That followed by Total Recall, T2, and of course True Lies.
You know my handcuffs? I picked them.
Arnie's movies prioritized fun, so the decision was made to bring his Commando screenwriter Stephen E. D'Souza in and ramp up the comedic aspects.
Hello, cutie pie. One of us is in deep trouble.
Instead of an unemployed father, Richards would be a single cop framed for a massacre by a repressive government, who escapes jail, is recaptured, and forced to participate. It would be an upbeat film that bore next to no resemblance to Stephen King's novel. Oddly though, the fact that it ditched the King material might have been what made it a great 80s movie. Reality TV shows just weren't a thing back then, and the movie's grotesque spoof of TV game shows was pretty prescient. That's essentially what the reality genre has become.
Slice those words for me, man!
Perhaps the smartest piece of casting was the hiring of Family Feud host Richard Dawson to play the movie's host, Killian, a satire of his own persona, right down to him kissing all the women in his audience. He was so infamous for this that his nickname was actually the Kissing Bandit.
I love you, yes!
Given Arnold's size, the Hunters are a colorful bunch, with him taking on former wrestlers like Professor Toru Tanaka and Jesse the Body Ventura.
This is a sport of death and honor. Go to the gladiators!
Schwarzenegger essentially plays the character he always played in his 80s action movies, wisecracking and a quote-unquote normal guy despite looking anything but.
You bastard! Drop dead! I don't do requests.
The whole movie was designed to be a lark, so you have him getting a sexy Latina love interest played by Maria Conchita Alonso, and some rock and roll buddies, including a resistance group that's run by Mick Fleetwood of Fleetwood Mac, and Dweezil Zappa, who the same year played guitar on the video for Don Johnson's Heartbeat, which is a hell of a song. But I digress. Surprisingly, Schwarzenegger was never really happy with The Running Man. He hated that the original director, Andrew Davis, who of course would later on go on to direct Under Siege and The Fugitive was replaced. They'd worked together later on Collateral Damage with Paul Michael Glaser, who of course is best known for playing Starsky on Starsky & Hutch, on board as the director this time. Now, Arnold does have a point. Glaser was not on the level of other action directors he worked with. Although Glaser had directed a few good Miami Vice episodes, he did do a decent job making the movie hip with some off-kilter casting. Some of the cringier 80s stuff though, like the Harold Faltermeyer score, long dance numbers choreographed by Paul Abdul, and the cheesy love theme by John Parr, haven't exactly stood the test of time. However, I'd argue that this 80s camp factor is actually part of the movie's appeal. I get it though. Arnie's not really a camp kind of guy, so I can see why this movie to him is not considered one of his best.
How about the light?
Many of his movies feel timeless. This one definitely feels of its time. I imagine a director like Paul Verhoeven might have been needed to make The Running Man truly live up to its potential. The movie was actually only a modest box office hit, earning $38 million in the US, which paled in comparison to what Predator made. But it was a smash hit on video and cable, which is where a generation of ravenous young action fans discovered it, including yours truly.
Hope you leave enough room for my fist because I'm going to ram it into your stomach!
While The Running Man isn't a total classic, it's also a ton of fun. And Arnold has a point. A remake could actually outdo the original, or at least be significantly different. One can see why he's so gung-ho about the new version, especially since it appears to be set in a world where he was once president. So The Running Man, very different from the Edgar Wright version, I'm sure, but also still a fun 80s camp classic with a great Arnold Schwarzenegger performance and some really cool action. Check it out.
Killian, I'll be back.
Only in a rerun.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo was created by movie fans for movie fans, and we appreciate your support.